Hello, my name is Lane Holsinger, and I'm here to talk to you about the BTR-4, Ukraine's premier infantry fighting vehicle. Now, the war in Ukraine has gone on for nearly 8 months now, and while there's been a lot of attention paid to both the people on the ground and many of the new toys provided to Ukraine, both from captured Russian equipment and from NATO, there's been much less of a focus on Ukraine's own equipment that's produced for nearly the past 2 decades. One of these being the BTR-4. Now, you may be wondering, why do you care about the BTR-4? Well, you should care because it's one of the best infantry fighting vehicles in the entire war, and shown great use on both the Kharkiv axis and the siege of Mariupol. Now, to go over this, I'll be splitting it up into 3 different sections. First, the history of the BTR-4, then the characteristics of it, and finally, what use has it been in Ukraine. The BTR-4 was first designed in 2006 from the Kharkiv Morozov Machine Building Design Bureau. This is the same bureau that, during World War II, designed many of the most famous Soviet tanks, so they have a reputation for quality. And once the prototype was tested, in 2008 it was designed for serialized production for the Ukrainian military. However, to begin with, they also sent many of them overseas, 2 of the most famous ones being to both Iraq and Kazakhstan. These turned out to be not the best decision, as many of them had problems, namely the fact that they had holes in it from poor quality steel due to some corruption at the Bureau. And Ukraine was forced to pull them back and refund the countries that bought them. However, this turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as once it came home and the problem was fixed, these vehicles were ready to fight the Russians both during the invasion of Crimea and during the insurgency in the Donbass. And throughout Ukraine's history, it has served with its many peacekeeping forces, namely in fighting ISIS. Now, the characteristic of the BTR is that it has a crew of 3, as well as a passenger capacity of 8. The layout is with the 3 crew members up front, and the engine in the middle, and finally the passengers at the very back. It has 2 large doors in the rear, which allow the passengers to quickly get out of the vehicle and take up positions. This is very different from the old Soviet and many of the Russian BTRs, mainly due to the fact that instead of just ferrying troops to the front, it's actually an infantry fighting vehicle, which means they can fight with the infantry. Meanwhile, the Russian BTRs, many of them, have to retreat to the rear lines and avoid combat due to the fact that it's not really made for that. Besides that, the Russian BTRs also have the engine on the back usually, which, while it's supposed to be a bit more survivable for the vehicle overall, it's not very conducive to the survival of the crew, as a shot from the front can easily pierce through it and kill both the crew and the passengers. Meanwhile, however, the Ukrainian IFV gives much more survivability, because if it's hit from the front, there's a definite possibility that the crew may die, but at least the passengers will be safe with the engine in the way. This is allowed also it to have a top speed of 110 kilometers per hour, and can even cross bodies of water. It's also highly customizable and is able to fill a multitude of roles. All these facts are good, but how has this been doing overall in Ukraine? From what we've seen, especially during the siege of Mariupol, the vehicle was very effective. It was able to both engage and destroy T-72 tanks with a good kill rate, and this was even without its anti-tank guided missile. It was able to engage it with its main gun, mostly because it was able to quickly maneuver and hit the tanks from the side where the armor was weaker. Because of this, they've gone a reputation for being able to quickly spot an enemy, engage it, destroying it in the process, and quickly changing positions before the enemy can get a bead on their location. These factors have made the BTR-4 one of Ukraine's deadliest vehicles, able to take on both infantry, IFVs, and tanks, all in a single fight. And because of this, Russian forces have been seen actively trying to capture these vehicles, both to send them back and to crew them on the front line, and with many Russians seeming to prefer these over their own BTRs. Because of this, and in conclusion, the BTR-4 is an amazing vehicle that has helped Ukraine defeat Russia both in the counterattack in the north and in the south. And it will continue to, and although the war will go on for several more months, it will continue to help the Ukrainian people fight back against Russia and maybe one day win this war. Thank you for your time. I'm Lane Holsinger, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation of the BTR-4.